There's always a number of very viable and understandable exceptions to that. But, Mr. Genuis was going through for that hit and trying to actually, in having that reported to the House, to use up time in the House of Commons with these, and I believe that's where there's like over 6,000 hours and over 200 reports that are on notice right now that can be debated on a concurrent mode. That's basically, Chair, when there's a report that has been produced out of a committee, everybody agreed, the report has been tabled, and all of a sudden we want to have 3 hours of extended debate, essentially a filibuster on the report in the House of Commons. Why? To waste the House of Commons time. And we know that we have important legislation. In fact, the farmer care legislation that I'm so pleased that we were able to work with the NDP and to put forward this farmer care legislation. As a member in Quebec, I'm well aware of how important and life-changing having access to prescription drugs is, and now that we'll be able to extend that across the country. But will we? Because we've got 6,000 hours projected of concurrent waste the House of Commons time motions on notice by the Conservative government. And so I would ask for all members here to consider if we really want to have the minister here, why don't we just invite her? I mean, we have had ministers here before. We can just invite her. That's all right. That's something that this committee has done, and it is something where we've always been respectful of the fact that ministers have many time constraints, and I think that it's behooves us to from this committee to have a motion that shows that respect. And again, if we were discussing this as we usually do in committee, could be in camera, could be in public, but together as a committee during committee business, we could have come to a reasonable invitation to the minister. But no, here we are. We're over time. People have other things to do, but this is what Mr. Genuis decided was the ideal time to pull this stunt. And so I move the following amendment, that the text that this meeting occur within 3 weeks of this motion being adopted be deleted from the motion.
Thank you. That is certainly in order. We're now debating the amendment to remove the 3 weeks. So I'm going to confer with the chair for a second. Pardon me. I'm the chair. I'm going to confer with the clerk 1 second. Very good. So we're now going to debate the amendment to this motion to remove within 3 weeks. Ms. Illut, would you like to speak to this, or would you like me to just hold you till we come back to the main motion? The floor is yours if you'd like to.
No, I'd like to speak later.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Yip, do you want to speak to this amendment, or would you like to have me hold your name and I will come back to it once this amendment is addressed?
Yes, I can speak to this.
Okay.
We should. So can we put this to a vote?
Speaking to it, yes. Are you done?
Yeah.
Good.
Let's just put it to a vote.
I have to go through the speaking. Miss Khalid, your hand was up, but then it came down. Do you want to speak to this amendment, or shall we proceed to a vote to remove within 3 weeks?
I think it'll pass unanimously, Chair.
I think it might. Not hearing from Miss Khalid, clerk, call the vote on this, please.
Shall the amendment proposed by Ms. Shanahan carry? Mr. Van Bynen.
Mr. Van Buyden, you're on mute.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was on mute in favor.
In favor. Thank you.
Mr. Pawlowski.
For.
Ms. Khalid.
You're on mute, Miss Khalid.
Ms. Khalid.
You're on mute, Miss Khalid. And I'll just, in the meantime, we're voting on an amendment put forward by Ms. Shanahan.
My apologies, Chair.
Yeah.
Was having a hard time finding the vote button. I vote yes.
Thank you. And if I could ask you just to put your headset on if you speak again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
Ms. Yip.
Yes.
Ms. Block.
I'm seeing a nay vote from Ms. Block on the camera, which is acceptable. Ms.
Mr.
Block votes
Barrett?
nay.
Ms. Kuzi.
Against.
Monsieur Lemire.
Contre.
Ms. Zidlout.
Akapunga against.
5 yeas, 5 nays.
Very good. Ms. Shanahan, I'm afraid your amendment is defeated. I'm obviously voting, and I'm now returning to the speaking list. Ms. Idlout, you have the floor on the motion that was presented to us. Over to you, please.
Kuyanami Ixivatali. Thank you, Chair. It is a pleasure to represent the NDP, and I share the sentiments that were shared about my colleague, Blake Desjardins. I do wish him well during his time of grief. I have complete faith in our whole party and what we've heard and the advice given to us by our staff. So when I'm sharing my feedback, it is because of what I've heard, and unfortunately, what I'm hearing during this debate at committee is a lot of partisanship when we should be demanding accountability. What I've heard from the witnesses, from the officials, and I appreciate that it was based on a new motion regarding this study, is that the officials were not able to answer my questions. And inviting them back will mean that even if I repeat those questions to those same officials, they will not be answered. I understand that there were officials from the Treasury Board Secretariat. I'm pretty sure that if I asked those officials those same questions, they would not give the same information that Canadians deserve. And the reason I say what Canadians deserve, the original intent of the ArriveCan app was supposed to be about $80,000. And to hear that over time, 55 million at the very minimum was spent to have this app operate, so-called for the protection of Canadians' health, is completely unacceptable. It was only recently that I learned that the recipients of this contract claim to have Indigenous identity and use that in this contract. So there are still a lot of unanswered questions. And when I asked my questions instead of the officials responding or accepting responsibility, diverted that information to be answered by another department. And I think that given the huge amount of losses that this program costed, deserve the scrutiny that it's received. I'm not convinced by other interventions that we've been told how many hours have been spent on this, especially when there are still lingering questions about the colossal failure of what has happened. And we need to make sure that the officials aren't the final stop in seeking answers. We do need to hear from the president of the Treasury Board, because it is the president that can give us the bigger picture that we're looking for, and where those miscommunications costed Canadians so many millions of dollars. I need to say this again. Nunavut are suffering. The level of poverty that exists in Nunavut, and for Nunavut to continue to be ignored, for Nunavut to continue have to lose to profits to CEOs is completely unacceptable. We need accountability. We need answers. And because of that, I support this motion to get those answers from the president of the Treasury Board. Oyanami.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go to Ms. Yip next, and then Ms. Shanahan, because Ms. Yip was on the roll call earlier. If you two would like to swap, you're welcome to do that. But Ms. Yip, you have the floor. Okay, and I'm seeing agreement from Ms. Shanahan. Ms. Yip, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with my colleagues on my side that the minister has already been invited to government operations on the same issue. So I don't feel that there's really a need to repeat the invitation here, and that it just ties up more time, more resources. We have just on this Public Accounts Committee, we have so many outstanding reports to review. In fact, we've barely moved on reports, on the completion of reports that we were looking at last year. And we certainly had many, many meetings on ArriveCan. And now the Auditor General is about to table new reports, and yet we haven't even completed the work that we have set out to do last year. So I feel that it's also been clear that referring to the report to the House part, this is a political tactic by the Conservatives to clog up the House and to waste time and resources, and to stop us from passing legislation that supports Canadians, such as pharmacare. And I really don't think that's right to take all this time away. So I just like to propose an amendment to remove the report to the House. Thank you.
Again, Ms. Yip, I'm going to rule it out of order because that fundamentally changes the nature of the motion to. So I'm going to remove that out of order. You're welcome, of course, to vote against it, which is effectively what your amendment is doing.
I don't. Yeah. Sorry, I don't believe that it's out of order. I'm going to challenge that.
All right. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll call on my decision